This Albion Online video is about some upcoming changes that people might not know about because they announced it on a literal stream and then they hosted a VOD that no one watches, and that VOD would be the Albion TEE VEE guys. They don't like me, so it's whatever, but anyway, it's an hour-long video. I'm just going to condense it down to be as quick as possible and give you all the deets. Alright, so the first thing they talked about was faction war changes. Alright, so they're going to have fortifications. If you don't know what a fortification is, if you've ever been to the Black Zone, and 92% of you haven't, so let me explain real quick. In the Black Zone, there are these little fortifications. They look like this. This one's being attacked right now. And essentially a guild owns it, so there won't be guilds owning these in the Yellow Zone. It's just going to be the faction owning it. So it'd be like, oh, Bridgewatch owns this, right? And it's going to have walls and gates that you can smash, allegedly, supposedly, or something similar. And I don't know if that's going to require a siege hammer or not, but if it does, siege hammer prices might go up. So buy one now just in case. All right. Next up is they plan to use the faction warfare more as an entry point to get people into ZvZ. It seems like this company, they have such a hard-on for freaking wanting players to go into the Black Zone and do ZvZ. That's like whoever made the game's like big grand design. Oh, we gotta get players into ZvZ. Blah, 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 blah. But like what these devs don't understand is that people don't want to use outside tools like Discord groups to get it done. And, when they're talking about these faction warfare, changes, they're like, oh, we're excited that players are going to want to be more organized for this, and they're going to want to join Discord groups. See, they're so out of touch with the player base. Look, yeah, there's some okay Discord groups for faction warfare, at least on West. It used to be very bad. It used to, the old people back in the day, you go back a few years, that controlled Bridgewatch's Discord, where they were absolute terrible people. The whole thing was miserable, and if you didn't suck toes and bend the knee and sniff their farts on a daily basis, you basically didn't get to play. You just didn't get to play. And, what I hate about games that rely on Discord groups is that this is always a possibility. Every single game ever, there's always some control freak leftoid that wants to control what everyone says and thinks and does in the game, and so they rush out to make a Discord, and then they spam in the chat, oh, this is the official Discord for our World of Warcraft server, blah, 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 blah. And if you don't politically align with them, you're just screwed and banned and outcasted, right? And so these devs don't understand that because they're all fart sniffers themselves, and they're lazy. They just want to rely on the players to make the groups rather than, actually have in-game tools where people can chat with each other properly, like a voice channel or anything. They're just lazy, right? And I know Unity games in general, like, there's some really good Unity games that do voice chat amazing. Like, anything that Angry Crab makes, which is what the game Peak, like every game that those people make, and those are Unity games, they got voice chat on lockdown. That's the whole thrill of the game, is voice chat, right? Is oh, you're climbing a mountain and then you fell to your death, and it's funny, haha, right? But these devs, they're like, oh, we're just gonna hope that people make a Discord channel, Discord group, and then go from there. And so, yeah, they're so short-sighted. They don't understand the struggle of us real players, right? That if we're not favored in these Discord groups, then we're basically shit out of luck. All right, and then again, they're trying to use it as like a gateway drug to get into Zerg versus Zerg Black Zone content, which is where most of the gear is lost, most of the silver sinks happen. Like ZvZ, I did it. I was in a top 10 guild. I did it for a little while. And it's totally not worth doing for anyone who cares about their economy, the market, or even fun. You literally have to, like, sit on a guild island for 45 minutes until everyone gets organized, and then you do one big push, and then you either win or you lose, and the only people that profit are the guild leaders. It's absolute virtual slavery, and they're trying to turn faction warfare into that. So I'm not hyped for the new faction warfare changes. And one thing is that these devs and the Albion TEE VEE fart sniffers, yes, that's what they are. They don't like me, so I'm gonna be honest about it. They're just fart sniffing, and they don't like the 8.4 players. The majority of people that like faction warfare, all of the I would call them faction warfare queens, you know, because like the Martlock lady, she's actually female, real life, whatever. But everyone uses 8.4. That was the goal. That was the chase of the game. When you like most people don't want to do Black Zone or ZvZ. 92% do not want to do it. They will never do it. So the whole chase of the game was, I want to be the best that I can in faction warfare. How do I do that? Get maximum spec, get 8.4, and then eventually get awakened, which you have to join a guild for. Most of the, yellow zone guilds that did awakening, that's how people got like super juiced up mega weapons, right? And once you had those super juiced up mega weapons, you were a one-man army, and that was the fantasy. Is that, all of the people climbing the ladder below you, all the new players, were cannon fodder, and you, that had been playing for 2 to 3 years and spent literal billions on your gear, and years of your time grinding it out, was finally able to reap the rewards and go into a battle like a superhuman, mega powerful villain or hero, whatever, and 1 versus 20 people. But, apparently the devs didn't like that. So, whoops, that's what the IP caps are for, I was all for IP caps, except for 2 things. Like, gathering shouldn't IP cap you, and, faction warfare either. I was more about, worried about just, like, random red, like hard flagging. When you flag up for PvP and down people, yeah, you can IP cap that. That's fine, whatever, right? But the other stuff you shouldn't have touched. So now, what do we have? We have a yellow zone where people just faction transport around and around, completely immune, and no one's gonna make like a ganking, transport ganking group for faction hearts. It's not worth it. Even if you had 3 people like ganking bears, which you could totally viably do, you don't make enough silver for it to be worth it. Those gankers just go to red zone and they gank actual transporters for actual profit. So now the hearts market, wrong game. The faction hearts market is completely scuffed, and botters are just out of control, constantly transporting the goods. Whereas you had good Samaritans like myself that would go out and solo these bots and solo these bear-mounted faction heart transporters and keep the economy in check. But hey, my power was stripped away, and now the economy is absolutely screwed. Next, they talked about how faction fighting is just not efficient. So what this means is, this is going to translate into another bad point, and that is, they're going to take away the random Zerg pop-ups, essentially. So, let me explain. They are upset that the way faction warfare currently flows, and that's the word they used, it flows, like a wave, is that a bunch of people group up in a faction, and then they push towards the enemy city, and then once they capture all the zones near that main city, so for instance, let me show you on the map here. We have Bridgewatch, wait, that's not what I want, yeah, down here. Bridgewatch will push towards Martlock, and they capture all the zones towards Martlock, and then, they hit Martlock, and then they back off, and they go back home, and maybe they start pushing towards Limhurst. You can see Limhurst is pushing towards Bridgewatch. And then they push back, and then what happens with Limhurst and Martlock is they push back towards Bridgewatch, and that is the flow. That is the that's faction warfare for you. Is random blobs happen, and then they push, and then they disband, and then usually what happens is when there's a pre-mades are more efficient. They're going around the side zones with like a small group of players. And they're mostly capping the zones, but they're timing it so that they all cap at once, so they get the maximum star value and all that. And so the devs, they think that, this is not efficient. This is they want more PvP to happen. They want they see that fighting in faction warfare is not efficient. And this sounds good. It sounds good on paper, but here's why it's bad. So when you take away the random blobs pushing zones, which they won't entirely take that away. They really can't. It's hard-coded, but what this is going to translate into is that pre-mades, more and more pre-mades will have more and more power in faction warfare, meaning that your random blob is going to be forced to fight, like in a faction territory or a fortification, and a random blob simply won't be able to have the coordination or communication to do it. And so whichever faction has the most Discord junkies, circle jerking in a voice call, those are going to be the real winners of faction warfare. No longer will it be a random pickup group thing where, oh, you're out gathering in this zone and then a faction blob happens by and you just get absorbed into the blob and follow along the path. That's not going to be a thing anymore, all right? At least how it's panning out here. So they want people to get content faster, so that means either zones are going to cap faster or people are just going to fight over these fortifications and each zone isn't going to be as important to cap. I don't really know. They wouldn't reveal much because it's not a dev talk. It's just a little stream Q&A. So, again, they're still keeping their lips sealed tight. You know, they're not being loosey-goosey about it. Now, they took a small amount of time to talk about open world, how the open world has no content anymore because everything is being instanced, as in people just do orange zone and mists, and that's basically it. And so, they didn't have a way to really fix the problem. But there were mentions of just reduce all of the rewards from other content that aren't open world until players are forced into them. And that this type of playstyle favored big groups, as in ZvZs, 20-man little gank squads, guilds doing, group content essentially. And that's how it should be, is what they say. And if you notice from the last patch notes, that's exactly what they've been doing. They literally cut all the rewards from other content down a lot. It's been heavily nerfed, and it'll continue to be nerfed. And, groups will still, get the lion's share, so to speak. So what this means to you as a player is that Albion is going to be stripping your rewards and making you earn less and less as the game goes on, unless you bend the knee and join a big guild. That's what it means. Which, again, shows how short-sighted these devs are, that they don't play their own game, they don't even know their own community. 92% of the player base does not interface with this crap, and so 92% of the player base is going to suffer. But hey, at least the gold price might go down, guys. No, it won't. It'll never go down. It's never going to go down a massive amount ever again, and no matter how much they change the game, the rich, wealthy players will always make sure that never happens. Then they had a chat about character progression, where Veterans progression just stops at 120 spec. There's nothing left to do for PvE, and the game should be endless character progression, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I mean, I'm bored as hell. Like, my character's progressed all the way. I don't really need to level anything anymore, so if he gave me more stuff to level, I might have more incentive to go out and grind PvE fame. But they also talked about how PvP fame should matter, and that PvP fame was the chase of the game, getting that number high. But in my opinion, that number has never mattered. Look at my PvP fame on the Swole Benji character. It's very low. It's like only 33 million over the course of 7 years. And there's people that make that amount in their first couple weeks playing, right? And to me, the numbers don't matter. In 10 years from now, that's the wrong menu. In 10 years from now, none of this matters. These numbers don't matter. You go up to someone, hey, guy, back in the Halo 2 days, I was in the top 0.02% of the skill. I was one of the highest rated players in the MLG. And everyone's like, who gives a crap, bro? We're all playing Sword Art Online VR 2 now. Or something, or what. Hopefully that's what we're playing. I would love to play a Sword Art Online game. Let me get locked in. If the helmet gets removed, just fry my brain. Do it. Someone's got to make it real. Anyway, the point is that these dorks, they want the PvP fame to matter. So I don't really have any good predictions on this, other than maybe that if your PvP fame number isn't high enough, it might gatekeep you from the game. But that's just going to turn into win trading, or people paying other people to get to int sets, which is what the devs love to see anyway, because that's a silver sink in and of itself, even though it's technically against the game rules, right? But and people do it anyway. You see it all the time on the Asia server, especially. But they also talked about how the PvE should never end either, and they're not gonna. Here's the thing: they're not gonna continuously release content for us to level up. They're just like, oh, we release a new weapon line, and every veteran already has enough, combat fame credits stocked away to instantly max everything out, and that it's only a matter of, can you afford the silver to do so? So for those that don't know, if you have a level 100 ability like the Bow of Dawn, if I want to push to 120, that's about 20 mil, about almost 20 million silver. All right, and then getting the 50.8 million combat fame credits, To do that quickly, you just use a satchel, auto-respec, you know, you get premium, you get the other things that boost your fame up, like the Black Zone Conqueror's Challenge. All this accumulates into silver sinks, which, you know, us billionaire players can easily afford, but, you know, new players can't. And so it becomes a matter of, can you afford it and not, you know, have you put in the actual work, which, that's just how it is. So, if they make PvE fame, if they make it never-ending, here is my actual solution that would work out for a lot of people. You know the item power soft cap in yellow zones? Well, what if we had a way to grind our way out of that, alright? Which would just put us back in the position of 8.4, you know, queens, you know, with maximum awakened weapons, 1 versus 20ing everyone in faction warfare, which is how it should be. But I would put in the grind if it allowed me to kill faction transporters again and one-shot mobs with skinning. That would be a chase that I would be acceptable doing, right? But not everyone would, right? But you play the game for 7 years and you run out of stuff to do. Like I haven't played Albion in like 2 months. I log in and I'm running around my island and I make a talking video, and that's basically it, right? I don't seriously play the game anymore because there's nothing left for me to level up, do, earn, or buy. And it's been that way for a very long time now. Alright? So something has to change, and hopefully they figure it out. But, you know, with the rate that they work, the thing is these devs, they either don't get paid enough because their office exists in a literal ghetto in Germany. It is a ghetto. Go look it up. Go Google it. Go Google the Sandbox Interactive offices. It's filled with graffiti and, like, shady people, okay, around that part of the neighborhood. But also, it's that they've already made their money because they were bought out by Stillfront, and so they have no incentive to work hard and make a game anymore, especially a game that's stagnated, and Stillfront stock price is dropping and dropping. It's always dropping, and so, you know, the money just isn't there. The money just isn't there for the devs, and, you know, everyone's still stuck playing Fortnite and Roblox, so they're not going to suddenly get a surge of hundreds of thousands of players no matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they had Asmongold play this game for a month straight every day for 8 hours a day. It's not going to change the population. Like, there is no one that can save the freaking game other than them making a game that the majority of people would want to play. But because they're not going to ever add voice chat or creative tools like Roblox has, this game will never grow to that size. And so it's better that we all just move on and play like Blue Protocol that comes out on October 9th or something. I don't know. That's a free-to-play MMO I'm going to try out. It might be good. It might be an Albion killer. We'll see. One of the things that I think it's more of a rant than an actual change, but these devs have been pushing for this for a long time. They hate solo players in the depths. They hate it. And so they think that solo players, if you were to go in solo in the trio depths, you should be auto-teamed with other solos so that you're not by yourself and that you would have someone to play with. Now, in my opinion, for me, and for most people that watch my channel, I don't know about for most people that play the depths, I don't have the data for that. For me specifically, the depths only exists as a method of fame farming. It is the best, and it's the absolute best fame farm in the entire game, bar none. It is 4 times more efficient to fame farm in the trio depths as a solo, even though I get beaten up and killed, and I don't get to take much loot with me, and so on. It is still the most efficient fame farm in the game, bar none, beating all other content, and that's why players do it. That's why solo players enter the depths, and, you know, they're ranting about solo players with, like, Bloodletter that just kind of hover outside of, like 2 teams that fight each other, and then as soon as the teams are done fighting, they swoop in, and they kill everybody, and it's like, well, that's Bloodletter. That's just how Bloodletter plays. That's... You know, it's not a solo player problem, it's a Bloodletter problem, okay? But, I mean, Bloodletter is not a good weapon to fame farm in the depths anyway, so it is what it is. But, they think that the depths should be more for fighting and less for farming. So, if I were you, I would expect nerfs. I would expect loot nerfs, fame nerfs at some point. I'm actually very surprised that they allowed the fame that they do in the depths. I think someone slipped up somewhere and said, just roll with it. And speaking of depths... you know, if you're not aware, they added a Call of the Depths daily event that gives you even more fame. So, when this is rolling, you get your 8.4 satchel, and yeah, you do have to pay full repairs on the satchel, but it's totally worth it, and you get all the other fame boosts, and you are almost cooking as hard as back in the day when we were soloing Tier 4 static dungeons. It's not as good as soloing tier 4 static dungeons used to be before the nerfs, but it's very close, and it's way more accessible because you don't need 8.4 with lifesteal. You just need 4.2 with lifesteal, okay? And yeah, it's very efficient, and it's a great fame farm. And I still see videos to this day. People still make videos. They're like, this is the best fame farm. My name's Scrapped Online, and I'm going to lie to my audience. And it's like, dude, that guy always says some bullcrap in his videos. He's like, he told people that the higher tier of a zone, the more dense gathering resources are, which is completely wrong. A tier 4 zone and a tier 6 zone, the tier 4 zone is going to have more gathering density. That's just a no-brainer. You go to a tier 8 zone, it's not going to have as much density as a tier 4 zone in resource. It's just not. It'll have more enchanted density, but not regular density. There's a whole bunch of little nitpicks, but these are just little wages, little video editors trying to make a paycheck, and I don't know why they chose this dying old-ass game that has barely a viewership remaining. The viewership is being cut down by like 25% every month after month, and no update's going to bring people back to watching this game. So they're really just spinning the wheels. And when they take 3 weeks to edit a video that I could piss out in like 20 minutes, they literally can't compete in the space. So I'm not really worried about it. I just hate that some new player might think that the over fancy editing makes their their viewpoints more valid than mine, and then they get led astray, and then you see them on Reddit complaining, "Oh, Swolbinji's guides are bad. Oh, and he's such a bigot," or whatever they say about me these days. I don't know what they say about me, but it's all wrong and fake anyway. Oh, and if you're wondering which dev is doing this QA, his name is Quokey, and here's his character, Lone Quokey on West. So if you see this guy in town, if you see him, out in a full loot zone, just murder him for me, all right? Just flag up and kill him. Kill this guy. Kill the devs. Kill the devs! In the game, of course. In the game, just inside the game, YouTube, okay? Then they went on stream to joke about things that we're going to never see because they're joking about it. You just know that they don't want to add these things to the game. The first one was proximity voice chat, which would absolutely make this game slap. It would make this game, as the Zoomers call it, the skibbity, I guess. But please don't close the video. I have to say skibbity in a video. It's, I don't know why. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that they're never going to add this functionality. It would be so fun, though, to have someone ride by you in a black zone and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they hop off and they give you some stuff and then they kill you and they're like, "Whoopsie, finger slip, misclick, my bad, haha, me," right? And then they ride off into the sunset. That would be like clippable memes that other people that don't play this game would see on Twitter or random, social medias. And they'd be like, "Hey, that game looks fun to play. Let's try it out." How many, like think of it like this, Peak. You know what Peak is? The little climbing game where you climb a mountain. How many people, if that game did not have a voice chat and didn't have people in Discord voice chatting, of course, how much do you think that game would sell? It wouldn't sell at all because people would be like, well, this game's, it's just the gameplay. That's all Albion is. It's the gameplay. There's not much of a happenstance social aspect to the game, right? So, yeah, we need proximity voice chat, but they're never going to add it. They're lazy. They don't care. Next up was VR or Meta Glasses integration. I would like to get into VR. I think it'd be cool, but Albion as a VR game would be interesting. And then they joked about how adding Sword Art Online functionality, where if you log out of the game, you die. You can never log out. You're just stuck in the game forever. And yeah, so there's not a good ratio of Kiritos to Asunas, so it probably isn't a good idea. But maybe if that ratio got a little bit better, as in. You know what I'm talking about, lads. But anyway, other things they talked about were 20 versus 20 Crystal League needs work, which, like, 0.01% of the player base does this content. Who cares? I'm not going to go into it. I don't care. I've never done it. I don't have 20 friends to do it with. All right, next up was ratting needs to go. They think ratting game-wide just has to die, has to be fixed. So expect more changes to be anti-rat, which for those that don't realize, ratting is actually a very good thing because it keeps the high, juicy gear twerps and mists in check. It allows a 4.1 player or a budget player to go and earn 1 million silver per hour on average with a cheap set, which is a gameplay loop that people do find fun. They say Hellgates need to become orange zones because whenever a team loses, the whole re-gearing process is too stressful and it ruins a lot of gameplay, like time or something. So that's a thing. I don't do Hellgates. I used to do them back in the day whenever you could solo them. That's kind of the first content that I started doing with this game, was I would go into Hellgate solo in 2v2, and I would use a nature staff or a great axe or a war bow, and I did pretty damn good. Some of my earliest clips from my old World of Warcraft videos, at the end of a World of Warcraft video, I'd be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna start playing this new game called Albion Online. Check it out." And I would use Hellgate clips. They mentioned Hellgate's buffing the loot if you chain multiple dungeons, so that if you go deeper and deeper, you would get a higher loot priority. Now, this is all just them talking shop. It's not them actually going to implementing anything. And if they were to implement something like this, it would be so far down the line anyway. And again, not a lot of people interface with Hellgates anyway. The next thing was, it seems like one of the devs had ties with Larian Studios, like some sort of executive, something about how one of the executives checked out his Twitch channel and saw Albion clips, and he felt really shameful about it. I don't really know what they were going with this one, but why is SBI, like, frolicking with Larian Studios? For those that don't know, Larian Studios is the people that made Baldur's Gate 3, a way more successful, way more popular, and more fun game. Though Larian Studios has deep ties with China, and you can do that research on your own. This is not a video about Larian Studios, and I don't really care, to be honest. But just follow the money, just follow the freaking money, and you'll see a lot of shady stuff going on. So I know that SBI does a lot of work with a lot of European devs and game devs, and I think Larian is also European. They're trying to get in bed with everybody. They're in bed with like Lurkit and the people that do PAX Day, and it's really weird, right? It's really weird how these Albion dudes are like spreading their tendrils and trying to get their hands in everyone's pockets. I don't know. I don't like it. I know they don't like me, so anytime they get hands in anyone's pockets, it affects me indirectly, or sometimes even directly. Like, I've been banned from using websites that I've never even visited before because some dickhead at SBI hates me so much. It's really weird behavior. All right, and to wrap things up, they talked about how they want to make new mobs and more intricate mobs and change the PvE experience to make PvE more interesting, but they don't want to add rewards. And they know that players won't interface with new dungeons or new mobs if there's no reason to. And so they also said that it takes a lot of resources and time to make new mobs. Like, bro, this is a Unity game. There are people on like Reddit that can make animations and characters and stuff and like whip up like a new character in a day, dude. It's not a lot of work. Like, stop being lazy. I always think of these, like, the TikTok videos of, it's like the day in the life of a Microsoft employee, and it's like some girl, and she arrives to work, she gets her eucalyptus towel, she gets her chai latte pudding, and she sits down, and she has a snack and a breakfast, some chips and a little like protein bar. And then she goes and plays ping pong with her co-workers, and then, it's lunchtime, and they have these gourmet meals, and then they finally sit down and they do about 15 minutes of work, which is just being in like a Zoom call with some other lower employees of the company, and they make the employees do a dance on the Zoom call. And how you ever see the wagey dance videos where like all the Walmart employees are forced to dance before their shift starts? It's that kind of dehumanizing crap that I expect. And then, they eat more snacks, and they go into a quiet room and read a book for a while, and then they clock out and go home. They did a total of 15 minutes of work in an 8-hour day. And that's what I think SBI is really honestly doing. They probably don't have the eucalyptus towels yet, but, with the stock price being so low as it is, but, they're not working. They're not doing like the Korean Japanese video game grind where they're spending 16 hours a day at their desk, mashing out content, sleeping under their desk, working 6, 7, 14 days in a row, non-stop, around the clock. Hell no, they're not. You can see in the game that they're not doing this. Then they talked about server transfers, and they said, absolutely not gonna happen. Sorry, twerps. Reroll, start over, throw away all your progress if you want to hang out with your homies that speak the same language as you. They obviously didn't say that. I'm just paraphrasing what they actually mean to say. And they say that if server transfers open, that servers would bleed players, aka the West server. The West server would absolutely bleed everyone that doesn't speak Spanish or Portuguese, and everyone knows that, and that's partially why they don't want to open server transfers. They also said that if they were to open server transfers, that it would fix the NA timers, which, if you don't know what an NA timer means, North America timer, it means the timers for guilds to attack each other and do their hideout crap and their castle wars. Like, who cares? 8% of the player base worries about timers. Wages worry about timers. Oh, I gotta go to college, bro. Don't play an MMO if you're a college dork. I mean, that's what you are. You're a college dork if you're trying to play an MMORPG. MMORPGs are for people with no lives and no friends and no job. That's just how it is. Go play Call of Duty if you're a college twerp. Anyway, finally the dev seems like a little softy, and he was like, guys, you know that, us devs, we like read the comments and listen to what the players are saying, so if you could just be nice with your comments, we'd really appreciate it. No, we're not gonna be nice, we're gonna be real. We're gonna be freaking real, and I think more people need to be real. When you open the chat, and you see a mod flapping their gut. Look, there's a mod now. Look at Westina. All right, look at this person. All right, and when you see that, call them out. Call them Jannies. They do it for free. Clean it up, Janny. Clean it up, Janny. Do it for free. Snap, snap your fingers, right? And when you see devs, who are completely out of touch with their player base, oh, but this dev isn't. He played the game long before he became a dev. He's one of us guys. No, he's not. He was a ZvZ slave. That's all he was. You can look at his stats page. You can look at his kill board. ZvZ slave. You're not one of the actual real players. Why don't they make a dev a Yellow Zone player? Robin Hinkies, the former CEO, before he got forcefully downgraded by Stillfront or the Hostile Takeover or whatever. That he was actually a solo player. He was a Yellow Zone player. He admitted to that. He did a little bit of faction warfare. He did solo stuff. He said this in videos and interviews. And, he was kind of sort of one of us, even though he was a hard leftist that hates Elon and freedom of speech and whatnot. But it is what it is with this game. My advice, don't be nice in the comments. I mean, they'll just, filter it and purge it anyway. You gotta let these dorks know the state of the real game, how players truly feel. Go to the Steam forums, you'll see endless posts of people complaining about the game. If you try to go to the Albion forums, it's all curtailed and it's all moderated. If you try to go to the Discord, it's all moderated. If you go to other content creators' videos, all of them are sponsored, and they're all in a content creator Discord, by the way. And they all have the creator badge, and they're all sucking the teat of Sandbox Interactive. All that's curtailed as well. All of it is, deleted and managed to make the game look as pretty and as positive as possible. So the only real place that you can vent your frustrations with this game is my comment section. I do not moderate comments, and I know some people think that I do, but I don't. If you use a curse word or a bad word, and you haven't learned how to use TikTok speak to get around that yet, then yeah, YouTube auto-moderates that. I don't have any control over that. That's not something I can prevent, okay? But you guys know that here, freedom of speech is respected. You can leave comments, and maybe the devs will read it, and maybe some guy in Stillfronts will get mad one day that his stock price is failing and he can't afford a third vacation home for his extended family on their yacht, and maybe, just maybe, he'll start making angry phone calls and stuff will get fixed. But I don't think it will. The game has never gotten better. The game has only gotten worse over the last 7 years. Everyone knows this. Everyone that's played the game consistently knows this. Things have never gotten better, and I don't expect them to ever get better. So if anything, as soon as a different game comes out, it's time to jump ship. It's time to leave. It's time to go play something else. And I'm going to give Blue Protocol a shot on October 9th, so join me for that. And we'll see. Everyone I've ever talked to that got to play it in Japan says it sucks. It even died in Japan. They closed the servers down because no one was playing in Japan. So I don't have high hopes. And they even stifled me on getting into the beta for some reason, I guess, because they might be woke as well. Who knows? It's the same slop. The game industry is completely corrupted. I think we just need to find a new hobby or something. Maybe learn to play piano or something. I think that might be interesting. But, the piano community seems to be a little cutthroat with each other as well. I've seen a lot of very wild videos where they are critiquing each other's play styles and their hand techniques, and it's like, I don't know if I want to get into piano PvP. But anyway, that's the video. What do you think? I know I made this video just as long as the dev talk, but I made it way more high energy and interesting. Those guys are boring. They're low energy. They're like, hey guys, today we're going to play Albion TEE VEE, dude. And it's like, come on, man. Get some passion. Get some interest. It's like you're just clocking in your 9 to 5. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Can I get your shopper's card? That'll be $14.90. Oh, you got a 2-cent off coupon. Okay, cool. You know, and it's like, yeah, that's your new total. I'm not going to say it out loud, though, because my manager will get mad if I say that number. Real story, by the way. I could tell you some other time. But anyway, that's it. Leave a comment. It is your duty. It is your Call of Duty to leave a freaking comment or about anything Albion related, of course. And click the video. If you listen, Buster, listen, punk. If you click the video on the right side of your screen, next time you go out to a fast food burger joint, you will be first in line. You know how normally you try to go get a fast food burger and there's like 10 cars in the drive-thru? Well, if you click that video right now, the next time, guaranteed that you go out, not guaranteed, allegedly, okay? That you go to a burger place, you're going to be first in line, and you won't have to wait behind the legion of other cars, all right? So get to clicking. Also, to the one guy in my comments that's mad that I punched the marmots, this one's for you. Ugh! You know what? It's not enough that we just punch these things anymore. Total marmot death. Let's go. Boom! Get them.